All right, this is my second one on November 19th, 2025, because today is such a very, very special day. And it's a very, very special day because today, it was just like yesterday, okay? The Epstein unanimous support came from the House of Representatives. Forced. Every member except for one said, release the files. All of them. Everything you got. Regarding Epstein and his co-conspirators, everybody that worked for him, all the documentation, everything. And it's about dang time. Okay? Then it went to the Senate, and Mike Johnson, said that it was like a fast maneuver on Schumer's part that he did. He made a fast maneuver. Okay. And so Schumer, who received a lot of criticism for caving on the shutdown on the Democrat side, okay. And he couldn't control his party, I guess, or something like that. Some people want to hold the leader accountable for every constituent. All right? I'm just saying, that was his criticism. But that same guy pulled it through for the Epstein files to go to the Senate, to be passed in the Senate without any kind of modification, just as it stood in the House, as it was written, as it was so let it be, as it is written, so let it be done. And that's what happened. And today was the day. But this is such a special day for me. Okay. And I had another synchronicity. Okay. And I'll tell you the truth, it wasn't really that long ago that I actually gave serious contemplation to the word synchronicity, because I have experienced like synchronicity like in my life before, but I had never ever named it until now. And I understand now that this whole terminology of synchronicity comes from Carl Jung. And even though he was was for a long time one of my favorites, not only because of the Myers-Briggs test, which is based on Carl Jung's work, but also personality test, but also because of his work in the archetypes, ARCHE types, archetypes, or archetypes, however you say it. Because of those and stuff that I've been hearing now with YouTube and everything, I mean, it used to be I had to go to the library and get these kind of things like on cassette tape and listen to them and stuff, Now, all I can do is call it up on YouTube, man. I got about anything I want to listen to. All the experts, like Carl Jung. I like Carl Jung. He broke off of Freud, And Freud was like an Einstein of his kind of. I kind of think he was like Einstein. Okay, but he's a little bit wrong. Like he took some things a little bit too far. Area that I wouldn't concentrate on, and then I would have taken it more toward, Jung, because Jung broke off of Freud, and then he went a little different of a path, but nevertheless, he still, kind of stood on Freud's shoulders, Freud did a lot of good stuff, but he had a little bit of his own quirks, bents. He had his own bent, and that's why we need a community and. That's why democracy. That's why we need democracy. And that's an example right there. We need democracy in politics, and we need democracy in science, and we need democracy in, the procedures for medical stuff. Like if we had good democracy, we wouldn't be having RFK in there, who don't know anything about medical stuff, as being the head of the CDC. But nevertheless, these United States of America, this coalition, agreed together to stand by the Constitution of the United States of America, and we're going to be a part of one concept of America, which is going to be an experiment, and because Every day is a new day. It has to be brought forth with the challenges of the day, with the resources that we have, and to make the best practical right decisions and best practice, and based on actually skill. And skill don't come all that easy. So you put people in office that have some skill at something, at least. You know, what Trump has been doing is been getting rid of everybody that has skill and filling it with his sycophants that only say yes to him. And just the whole thing became like a show. Just a show. Not only a show, but a circus. And this is where my synchronicity is, all right? And this is how I come to it. And this is why today is such a special day. Because at the same time, I come across this jacket, okay, as I was cleaning. And this actually belongs to my buddy Steve Marshall. And you can look him up on Wikipedia. But Ringling and Barnum, brothers, and Bailey. And Bailey is also my cousins, Tina, John, and Jody, and Kyle, all came from, have the last name of Bailey. And that says Bailey. All right? I always thought about that, you know. But I never asked anybody, your last name is Bailey, and do you have any association? I never asked that. Even though when I was a kid, I was at my Aunt Barb and Uncle Jerry and my cousins, and we were playing cards, and it was my cousin John and Tina and Jody and Kyle in that descending order. And we were playing cards, and it was around that day, all right? I remember that I busted a mirror holding it in my hand. It seemed to be almost like bad luck, but it was on that same day that I think I learned that the names that my friend gave me that I thought was kind of a cool name, because I didn't actually never heard the word hideous before, and he used to call me Thad Hideous instead of like Thaddeus, Thad Hideous, and I never even knew what the word hideous meant. I thought he just made it up or something, and just put an H-I and whatever, you know. I didn't even know to look it up or nothing, all right? And I carried that nickname for a long time, and then went over to my Uncle Jerry and Aunt Barb and cousin's house, and I remember it was about on that day that I learned what the name hideous meant. It meant ugly. And here all this time, I've been like thinking my friend gave me a kind of cool name and everything, because I didn't even know what the word hideous meant until I was revealed to me at my Aunt Barb and Uncle Jerry Bailey's house in Crivets, Wisconsin. And I went to the Crivets school for a while also even. And I believe that their mascot was a badger. Because badgers, there's not anything more ferocious than a badger. If you know anything about like living in Wisconsin and where the badgers are. Okay, 'cause if you know about badgers, you will learn that you never want to get into a fight with a badger. A badger does not let up. And that was the name, I'm sure, but I could be wrong, because it's been a long time that I've ever even thought about this. Like, I went to third grade there in Crivets, and that's where I played King of the Mountain at, in that parking lot. They'd rack up the snow so high, it'd be a mountain. I'm talking about an actual big mountain, all right? Especially when you're a little kid. And you also have from all the way from the high school to the kindergarten. Oh, I don't know if the kindergarten or not, but I mean, I was in third grade, and they had third grade there, and they had all the way up to high school. I'm sure of it, because in those kind of areas, okay, everybody probably, goes to the same school. I mean, when I was in like 4th and 5th grade, you know, I mean, they had different schools. But out in there in that area, Cribbs is more kind of like a wilderness. Not so much city. Okay? And anyway, that was that time. But anyway, see the synchronicity, okay? Their last name is Bailey, and I'm just putting on a show. The greatest show on earth. Okay? The greatest show on earth. And so I had some thoughts that I just am so happy to be able to actually to bring forth from my recollection, okay? I remember talking about the greatest show. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to play this lady from one of the, I think her name is, can't remember. Look, it's just a nice name like Haley or something like that. I don't remember what her name is, but I'm just going to let you hear what she says because it's in reference to putting on a show. Okay? And this is a very, very happy subject for me today to actually think about. And that's why I'm documenting this one. But all right, here it is.
A Trump supporter and an Epstein survivor. Here's what she had to say about MAGA Mike.
Republican, you've spoken about that. I wonder what your reaction is to Speaker Johnson saying that this vote was a political show vote by the Democrats.
Well, I was present in the room when they were doing the votes, as well as all the survivors. And I can say the only theatrics I saw was from him. I think some of his comments were on that fine line. This is not a hoax. There is no theater coming from us or the survivors on our end. I'm appalled by him in general, and I've lost a lot of respect by him. Just the back and forth with Adelita Grijalva, you will never convince me.
She was a deciding vote at the time for the petition. That's why you said that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's bring in Ambassador Norm Eisen from Democracy Defenders. You have hundreds of lawsuits against.
He's probably going to say he has hundreds of lawsuits against Donald Trump and his regime. I don't know. I'm just saying. I heard him say that. But this whole subject of like calling things a hoax, putting on a show, and for example, a lot of times, you know, the people that accuse somebody else of putting on a show are the ones who are putting on a show. And that's where you get the statement of what you say tells me a lot more about you than it does about me. If you ever heard that before. But that's where you also need to also put things in perspective, okay? And the show, see, is not just a bad thing, all right? The show is a good thing. And you can put on a show, and you better put on a show. Like, I feel like I'm putting on a show. Like, what I'm doing, like, I'm building my you know, my mountain. I'm building my tower, okay? And I'm building it, you know, so it can be climbed. And so I can say, climb every mountain. And I can have a mountain here to climb. And it shows my ethos. And it shows what I value. And I'm saying, like, I'm also saying, like, you know, how you can actually outfit yourself and produce a skill in your life to make you competent to climb a mountain of truth. Because if you don't climb that mountain, then I don't really know what good is going to be. I mean, it's got to be anchored in truth somehow. It can't be anchored in lies, okay? So that's all I'm saying. And we got a lot of truth to learn. We got truth, all kinds of truth to learn. We don't know all the truth. That's why we got to climb the mountain of truth. Because the mountain of truth is like new. Every day we have a new challenge. And some of these challenges last for years. this challenge with the Epstein files and these women who were abused and pushed into doing things that were even wrong, that they could be even held accountable for because they were young and influential, and this happens to everybody. From the Garden of Eden, all right? That serpent that you put in the garden, he tricked me. See? And it happens, it's going to happen to every one of us, and every one of us are going to hit the challenge, and at some point, we're going to be duped, and we're going to realize that we followed the wrong path, okay? We got a little bit deceived, okay? And it could be something, inadequate in us, or it could be completely, man, we were forced into it, and how can you expect anybody to do otherwise, especially if they've been tricked? But Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG is what they call her, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she used to speak like on behalf of the devil, you might say, okay? But now she has come to her senses and a realization somehow, probably from talking to her children, because I know she talked to them. And she said she's been thinking about it a lot, and because she has been getting threatened, so now the shoe is on the shoe. She's being forced to walk into another person's moccasins or shoes like that. And then through that experience, a vicarious experience is like implemented. Okay, it cannot be denied unless you really want to be really evil, and obviously she's not that evil, that she will not be converted and be corrected. And then I listened to her correct herself, okay? I listened to her apology. And it sounded pretty real to me, I mean, everybody can always be suspicious, but she just seemed like, okay, she's being authentic. And everybody is going to be in the challenge. That's only one step. She's only taken one baby step on the ladder of goodness. But she does have a good heart, it seems to me. And I think she can carry on. In fact, she could probably even run for a Republican president. Because I think the Republicans are going to kick Trump to the curb before it's over. And when everything comes out, they're not going to stand with him. They're going to try to stand with somebody who's got a little bit better morality. But the big kick in the rear end is from the fact that 85% of the 85% of the vote will come from a Christian vote or something. Or I don't remember exactly how them statistics work, but I remember reading them. And 85% or more of Christians voted actually for Trump, and I could not believe that. Even back in that day, okay, not everybody did, but I think it's 85% of the people that said they voted for Trump also call themselves Christians. And if they couldn't tell right from that Access Hollywood bus, right from his shows, what kind of spirit he had, I am in disbelief about that whole situation and cannot make any sense of it. The only thing I can do is take my stand, which I have never failed to do. But, look, the greatest show on earth. I'll tell you who's putting on a greatest show on earth. Probably Donald Trump is putting the greatest show on earth on, for one thing. Matches Barnum Bailey Circus, that's for sure. Especially, Barnum Bailey Circus is better than the show of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is an ass hooker, okay? And he's gonna, but you know what? In the end, it's just like that. Is that guy from Canada, Charlie Angus, I think. Charlie Angus. I think it was Charlie Angus from Canada said in a speech, and I even think I used it as a reference, that them demons you unleashed, Donald, are coming back to eat you alive. And that's what they're doing. Look, this belongs to Steve. Eh? Steve. Anyway, I need to throw it away. I don't do that kind of stuff. Actually, I was thinking about, like, you know, fixing it up for him or something, but, you know, he can fix it up himself, I suppose. I got too much on my hands, you know. Plus, look. I'll fix his great grandma and his mom's rocking chair. Because, you know, it broke while I sat on it, but it's all right because, you know, I am capable. And look at that mountain thing I'm building out there. See, I can handle that, and if I can handle the erection of lifting that heavy cross I got in there, the erecting of that heavy cross. I swear to God, I think at least like 500 pounds, right? And you just can't be lifting 500 pounds, like lift it up and then like put it in a hole and all that kind of stuff. And that thing is not even in a hole. That thing is hanging from a steel thing. And everything about that whole thing I got is laced with synchronicity. Even that cable that I have suspended my cross out there, there's synchronicity involved in that because of the way I got that cable, how that cable came to me. And the thing that it seems like providence that, okay, if I didn't have that cable, man, that cross wouldn't be, that's like a 3/4 inch steel cable. And if I didn't have the thing, and that thing is used for big machinery, towing big machinery and pulling big machinery out of being stuck, which I was stuck one time, and the guy left the thing, and that's how I kept it. I mean, I never seen him again. And there was no opportunity for me to give it back. So, you know. But the thing is, that little piece of wire, or not a little actually, that piece of wire, if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't have that cross hanging from there. I mean, seriously. Every little piece of every little thing in our lives, you know, sometimes when you look at it, if it wasn't for that little thing, man, it wouldn't be. And that is even what they say about our whole existence on planet Earth and the moon being where the moon is. Like, if the moon wasn't where the moon is, well, planet Earth would have like, I don't know, like a half a year of desolation and then a half a year of scorched earth. Something like that. I mean, they say if the moon wasn't there, yeah, things just wouldn't even be right for anything to live. Seriously. And now they're saying that they think the moon might even be hollow. Seriously. Like, it could have been built and planted there by some ancient civilization to put life on planet Earth to let it grow. Imagine that. They said that when they banged on the moon somehow, when they landed with the ship or whatever, like it went boom and kept ringing. And they said they picked that up in the sound waves because they pick all this stuff up. And when them astronauts came back from being on the moon, when you even see them talking on the TV and stuff like that, you know, like they look like, man, they really seen something that freaked them out. Like, they didn't even know what to say. They were being silent. And you could tell it on their spirit and their demeanor and everything. No, that's why things are nothing ever just as they appear. And in the Barnum Bailey circus and in the Trump circus, things are never as just as they appear. And now, my friend Steve, you know, Marshall, who belongs to that jacket, and that jacket belongs to him, all right? He can also do the kind of tricks like mentalists do, like, you know, like you hold your cards in your hand, like a bunch of people in the audience, and you hold your cards in your hand, and then he tells everybody to pick out, like, what the certain card is that they want to pick out or something, and just like nobody's gonna know except for you. And then all of a sudden he asks you, okay, you picked out 8 of clubs, didn't you? How'd you know that? Now he can do that kind of stuff, and some people can, and that's why, that is rudimentary, a showcase of the rudiments of the greatest show on earth. Okay, and look, there's nothing wrong with that. Trickery is also pretty cool to show that you can be actually tricked. Okay, sleight of hand. These are the greatest shows of earth. There's a lot of things in our land. Okay, you got Stonehenge, or whatever, with them stones being up like that. Look, you got them pyramids. You got a whole lot of stuff, wonders of the world, that are showcase the greatest show on earth. And in our modern times, I have to have the greatest show on earth. Now, when I got married to Adam and Amber's mom, Lisa Adrian, and she always went by Adrian, all right? She was Italian, and the people that came to our wedding, some of them were Italian, just straight up Italian, like Italian bent, Italian. You could just tell they were Italian. And there's one couple in particular, and he was a pretty nice guy and everything, but I don't remember his name or anything, but he said to me about my pastor who performed the ceremony. He said about him, and his name was H.R. Bernard, and Harry Bernard. And I went to school with his son. We were the same age. But, so, he said about him, he said he's a good showman. And I thought to myself, showman? That means kind of like, not real. I didn't try to defend him or anything, because, I didn't got to defend him. I thought his good sermon. I listened, ceremony, and his little sermon I thought was really good. And I modeled my some of my ways of thinking after the ways of thinking that I kind of picked up from him. That's kind of really about all I can say about that. But he's kind of like a mentor to me. But for me to hear somebody call him a showman, well, he was a good showman. Okay? He was a very good showman. He actually showed the reality of what he was talking about. And since I've moved on a lot since that time in my life, I'm not really like I was maybe at my core resonance or something. Like I'm the same, but it's kind of like Freud. It's kind of like Jung splitting off away from Freud. Okay, like it's just like a tree goes different ways with different branches. Okay, like I'm not like trying to ever pattern myself off any one person in particular, but I listen to them all. I listen to them primarily the four: Jesus Christ, the Buddha, Sun Tzu, and now science like Einstein and beyond. I wasn't saying Einstein and Hawkins, but really now it has to be Einstein and beyond. But Hawkins is a good incremental kind of place to because he talked a lot about black holes and stuff like that. And the shows that have been given to us are really like the shows in nature. Nature shows us stuff. It's a good show. Nature is the best show. My dogs show me stuff. They've been showing me stuff for a long time. And in more ways than they know. Because when I have to put them down and stuff, you know, that's really showing me something. Look, there's a lot of things that are showing me something right now. And but this, what really showed me something is something showed me something here about these modern times of ours right now, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know, taking a new stance, and like it's kind of like a remnant of the Republican Party, you know. Everybody else turned to the devil, but there's a couple of them a remnant. Marjorie Taylor Greene and that guy by the last name of Massey, who's also Republican, who worked with Ro Khanna or something like that. He's got a name like Ro Khanna or something. Maybe his last name is Khanna, first name is Ro. But I've heard him talk like that, and I've heard him talk, I mean, and him and Massey worked together on that bill that was passed. And the support of Marjorie Taylor Greene, another lady, and maybe another guy, I'm not sure. But working with all the Democrats decided it became enough, and then forced it to a vote in which then nobody could say no to it, and they voted and they passed it. And then, you know, the way that it happened in the Senate was that Schumer got up and said, I want to pass this with a unanimous vote right now, unless anybody has an exception. And nobody would dare make an exception, so it passed. I don't know. Soon, the speaker for the Senate, like he was over there with Saudi Arabia guy, MBG or something like that, you know, whatever his name is. And the president, you know. Look, I don't know how it happened, but it happened, okay? And this is a great, great show. Oh. And this whole time right now is a great show. Prior to right now, I was thinking so much that the end was near. Okay, not at least if not the complete end of every good thing. Okay, at least the end for me. All right, and now it just seems like it has turned around a little bit, and I feel like in addition to, say, marching on, which was my last one, the show must go on. That's what some of my friend Steve Marshall, he would say. It seems like I heard him say that before. And I heard P.T. Barnum and the whole something, you know, listen to like everything like that. And I don't know this story. I don't remember the story or anything, but I remember. I think I used to have a soundtrack, something about the P.T. Barnum story, and it said something about the show must go on. All right, and so that's what I'm going to call this one. All right, because it goes all the way back to even when I got married. And that guy said about my pastor, he's a good showman. All right. Well, he was a good showman, but it wasn't fake. And I have a lot of people today trying to say stuff is fake, but it's not all fake. But nothing is hardly ever just exactly what it appears. And that's why you have to, as an individual person, you have to utilize the best practices, okay? And climb the mountain of truth. Okay? Implement the best practices and climb the mountain of truth. Because if you don't, in conjunction with everything else that you do in your life, if you're not climbing the mountain of truth in conjunction with it, because it's just like my lowercase t that goes upward in my recent revelation. Okay, it's a lowercase t. You know, that has to do with humility. Okay, And humility says that you don't know everything, and that you give and you give acknowledgement to, the fact that things are not just as they appear ever. And trickery is always there, but we always got to put on a good show. You prove it to yourself. You show yourself that you can do what you set your mind to do. Just like I am doing right now. I'm building my thing, and I'm going to say climb every mountain. Okay? And, look, man, I know what adventure this is, and I'm doing it by myself. So, cheers to the show. That's what I'm going to say. And right now I'm trying to actually think of what that, the show must go on. So, I don't know, I'm trying to just think about how I can capture this one, This show and tell. The show must go on. Show them what you can do. The proof is in the pudding. Well, whatever, I don't know. But that's it. All right.